Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 31 of our slow and immersive auto mode run of Baldur's Gate 3. This is a duo auto mode run with our custom character Krusk, a level 4 rogue assassin with an additional 3 levels of fighter and a subclass of champion, who has just finally found his duo companion Minthara. And right off the bat, guys, I'll just say that this episode will be dedicated entirely to our discussion of Minthara as a, in terms of character and her class and her kit and her abilities. So I will post another episode later today where we actually progress the story. So if you don't like to geek out on character creation and just character like lore and background, then feel free to just skip, just wait an hour and I'll post another episode. But in this episode, what we're going to do is just do a quick discussion. So I've kind of alluded to it, mentioned it in the previous episodes. Let's go ahead, and kind of just cover this in more detail. So we've got Minthara now, I'm super excited about that. Right, so let's talk
Enemies are everywhere.
talk about her as a character. And by the way, guys, I turned down music to 80 and turned voices to like 5 points lower, and music I turned from 100 to 80, so 20 points lower. I hope this is a better balance. I think maybe in previous couple of episodes, maybe like the music and the voices were a little bit too loud. I don't know. If I ever get the sound right, like it's without going into like DaVinci, I'll be happy. Not sure if that will ever happen, but I'll keep tweaking it. Anyway, so Minthara, right? Let's have a look at her. It's got nothing. We give her the Fala Aluver. And yeah, so who she is, baseline. Right, baseline, I guess she's a drow. Drows get superior vision. You can see in the dark up to 24 meters. Drows get drow weapon training, so rapier, short swords, and hand crossbows. And they get, drow magic, which means they get, at level 1, they gain the dancing lights. Level 3, they get fairy fire. And level 5, they get darkness. All very nice spells. And that's drow. She is obviously a lady. She doesn't look particularly strong to me, but maybe like just 10 or 8 strength. She certainly doesn't look like a character who wields strength-based weapons. I would say she's more of a finesse girl, right? To be honest, I feel like almost all female characters are like that. You really have to be. I think it's kind of a deviation, but obviously Karlach, for example, okay, I'm fine with that. She can be a strength character, or like a dwarf sort of woman character can be a strength, but she's really dex. So that's kind of one thing that just doesn't sit well with me, like at all. Like I just don't see her. Like she's not a strength character. Hence, we need her to wield some like finesse type, more like a finesse type weapon, right? That's one thing. Hand crossbows. That's a good mix. She will, she having that drow kind of magic affinity, like all high elves. I feel like she needs to have some spells. She needs to kind of have some spellcasting ability. I think drow cover that class very well. I mean, they could be rogues, though. They could be rogues. But with Minthara, the way I kind of see her, let's talk about, first of all, what is a paladin, right? So, base game, she's Oath of Vengeance. You have set aside even your own purity to right wrongs and deliver justice to those who have committed the most grievous sins. And she is, her tenets, Oath of Vengeance tenets. Let's have a look. Oath of Vengeance paladins abide by the following tenets. Fight the greater evil, exerting your wisdom, identify the higher morality in any given instance, and fight for it. No mercy for the wicked. Chasten those who dole out their villainy by wiping their blight from the world forever. Failure to abide by these tenets will result in a paladin forsaking their oath and becoming something very different. Now, I like the theme of vengeance on her. I think that is the theme of her character, not just with the absolute, but with I think as far as I kind of know a little bit about her, she's a noble brought up in Menzoberranzan. She's that Bairdrin house. I think she mentioned that in the previous episode. And drow are all kind of deceitful, roguish, right? They're kind of roguish, gloomstalker, assassin, maybe some sort of like type characters, right? They're all devious, kind of, and more like I guess lawful evils. Like you rise up through your like deeds and cunning and your kind of ruthlessness. She's all about that. So vengeance, I mean, if she was a paladin, okay, I get it. She's a vengeance paladin for sure. Thematically, from her background, she's a noble. That's also kind of like a paladin type thing. Her story in the game also, I think, kind of very much kind of vengeance paladin, although frankly, like, she was serving the absolute, and that's where they kind of start to diverge. When she became entangled with the absolute, like, she wasn't really a vengeance paladin. Like, there was no vengeance to be done in absolute's name. She's a paladin because she, like, swears oaths, but she's also, where this starts to diverge immediately for me, is that she's had, like, several masters in the past, I think, right? So she's, like, changed her oath, like, 5 times. Well, not 5, but, like, 2-3 times, right? Clearly, the absolute is just her latest, like, deity, or what you want to call it, like, master, right? Who she tried to serve, which is, like, Ketheric. And I don't really get it. Like, you give an oath. I guess it's the oath is of vengeance, but I would assume it's you dedicate it to one deity, and that's the whole point of a paladin. Like, you live your life by these tenets, and you never, like, stray away from them. And so already, like, I don't understand. She's switched her, like, allegiance, like, 3 times, and now she's been rejected by her own deity. How can she remain a paladin of that deity? Like, again, not gonna say, no, I'm not a D&D expert, not character lore expert, but to me, and the concept of, like, immersion and character creation is arbitrary, I guess. I do have I think I'm consistent in my own thinking and, like, my theme, but I just don't see her as a paladin. And she's on a personal vengeance path, right? She's not really avenging her deity. She's certainly not, like, seeking out she's not fighting the greater evil. Like, that's not Minthara. She's no mercy for the wicked. I think she disrespects and punishes weakness, but not wickedness. So that's not her. Now, fine, she's on this path of vengeance. You could roleplay it that way, but she doesn't even have a deity. Like, her oath is of vengeance to who? To personal vengeance? But she's not. But even if it's a personal vengeance, she either, like, fights the enemies of the absolute, or who's the enemies of Loth. Some people have told me that is the kind of a theory. And maybe, like, and I am, one thing that holds me back from respeccing, or, like, one strong consideration, is that I hope that there isn't more of a story where she'll keep referring to herself as a paladin of vengeance, and we're like, well, why not? But I think that's okay, because all of those things, like, she's not strength-based, she doesn't have an oath, she doesn't have a deity, she's on a vengeance path, but very much personal, like, self-serving, self-interested vengeance, like not righteous, but, like, kind of raging vengeance. Like, she will kill weaklings, and, to be honest, innocents too, if she had to. She's not fighting the greater evil. Like, that's just not who she is. I don't know what Larian was thinking when they made her. Again, maybe there's more to the story I'll uncover. As you know, like, I haven't really been that deep in the game, never interacted with Minthara. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, but, like, I just hate it. Like, no mercy for the wicked, like, no mercy for the weak. That's Minthara. And we talked about this with Chris kind of off screen, casually, and I just hate the fact that I think it was a really missed opportunity in BG3 to have a paladin that's, like, evil, right? And that's, like, serves something like Loth, or the Grumsh, like the god of orcs, and be that, yes, paladin with an oath, but you're serving an evil god, and therefore, like, you would maybe do, like, some different damage, not radiant, but some necrotic or some evil god damage, and you would have tenets. Maybe you could pick them. I think what's really cool, and I'll certainly do that playthrough one day, is when you're a paladin and you multi-class into a cleric and you pick your deity. I believe the game recognizes that, and you become, like, paladin of, Loth. That's super cool, super thematic, super cool. But this is not going to be that case. Actually, well, that was one of my ideas. So we could go paladin of vengeance. We could go also vengeance plus cleric and do Loth paladin. I'm not even sure if she serves Loth anymore. Like, I think she's just, like, completely, like, on her own with Krusk, right? That's who she is now. Like, she's just had it. She's had enough of, like, serving others and being, like, discarded as soon as she's not useful, as soon as she falters. Like, no one really recognizes her achievements and her contributions, and she's just fed up with it, right? And currently, she's got, the absolute in her sights. That's how I see the character. I don't think, like, paladin just fits at all. I mean, I do generally, in my, like, immersion, mindset, I try really, really hard not to respec characters, origin characters, out of their, like, intended class. But for example, Lae'zel, like, Battlemaster fits her, I think, perfectly. There's others that, she could be other classes, but Battlemaster fits her perfectly, and so that one I kind of enjoy. But Minthara, like, Paladin, to me, Paladin's always good. A promise made so deeply that it becomes divine in itself flows through a Paladin, burning bright enough to inspire allies and smite foes. Like, Minthara is not about allies. She's not about inspiring allies. You follow her because you're afraid of her, and maybe if you trust her, like Krusk. But generally, like the goblins in the camp, like she had no sympathy for any of them. They're all expendable. Like she didn't inspire them. She didn't smite her foes. She killed innocents. Like she just slaughtered the entire grove. I just don't understand this at all. If you picked Oath of Vengeance yourself and you played the game and you slaughtered the grove, you'd obviously break your oath, even if you're a Paladin of Vengeance. So none of that makes sense to me. Not the strength thing doesn't make sense to me. Abilities wise, you know, another thing I don't understand is why was she dual wielding as the original character with those two maces? Okay, fine, maces, but dual wielding, like Paladin doesn't even have the two weapon fighting style, so I think dual wielding is like, that's not what Paladins do. They have a lot to do with their bonus action, you know, so no. Also, like they get these heals is a nice ability, don't get me wrong, but like Minthara is not healing. She's not about healing allies. She's about like getting in there and killing people. That's what she's about. So again, like just completely, like I think completely off theme, like completely off theme. Another thing was that, what was it? Yeah, like another thing is, yeah, the light armor, right? The drow, they're dexterous, they're ruthless, cunning. Like they're not like medium heavy armor people. They're like light armor, nimble, you know, finesse people to me. Like obviously there can be like exceptions, but you know, I like to like lean into like the base lore rather than make my character like, oh, he's a drow, but you know, I don't know, a paladin of devotion. Like, oh, like you can roleplay it that way, obviously. Like I mean, it's whatever you're having fun. But Minthara, like she's none of that. Like she's not heavy armor. She's not strength based. She's not about healing people. She's not about upholding an oath. She does what she wants. She serves herself, especially now in the story. Maybe in the past she was. She's nimble. She's dexterity based, and so on. So one way, I guess, one way to rectify like the armor, you could actually be a light. You could, I really want to keep her armor and keep this like light, nimble style. I originally thought that it could actually be a really interesting type of paladin. Light armor. She gets advantage on concentration checks with this, and I will level up paladin since it's free, and we'll then respec her with withers. You know, she could be a light armor paladin. We could get away from strength and go into dex, and the way to do that is to give her Fala Aluve, right? Which is the drow inscription on this blade appears to have been recently carved. It translates to, though I have to leave you, I will dance forever in Elistre's light. Now, Elistre is the goddess, the elven goddess, that's, I think, like the leader, or the deity of the good drow, what are they called? Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot. There's the Loathsworn drow, and there is I forgot the other type of drow. But there's good drow that kind of try to defeat the Loath and like get rid of Loath and kind of like, you know, show people the better side. But Minthara is not that, but at least this is a drow sword. It's a long sword. It's a finesse long sword, very unique, right? So that kind of all fits her thematically, gives her a bit of mobility, gives her pommel strike, right? Which gives daze, and daze gives disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, and things like hold person, they all wisdom, right? So all the control spells. So you could spec her as a Oath of Vengeance paladin, who's not been good, but give her Fala Aluver, I think. Make her a dexterity-based paladin with like light armor. I think that's super cool. You could then like, we could then up her charisma, and we still make her that charismatic, I guess, leader, kind of like helping allies healer. It's kind of like, you can fix that paladin. So you can fix the strength, you can maintain the armor, you can make her finesse. So that we can fix. Abilities wise, I do like it, like Oath of Vengeance Paladin. Let's just go ahead and just kind of say we'll level it up, right? So you get HP, right? You get the level 1 spell slots, fighting style. We could give a great weapon fighting or defense. We could even have defense, for example, right? And with like 20 dex, you would have +5, +6, +12. She would have 18 AC with keeping her armor or any other light armor. There's light armors that give 13 and 14 AC, right? So that's possible. I think it is a good idea to keep her armor because it lets you keep concentration easier, because paladins don't get a proficiency. They get proficiency in wisdom and charisma, which I kind of hate. And the reason I hate it is because they need constitution, right? Because they have lots of spells, and practically every single one of their spells here, right? Let's just kind of spec her, for example. I would definitely give her a command, right? So, but that means she needs like really high charisma to, you know, get that DC, right? Wrathful Smite, I feel like that's like her. She fears people and like strikes them really hard. There's an action and bonus action. Divine Favor, that could be a good one. Like Shield of Faith is a good one. Blessed, she's not a blessed type person. Searing Smite, maybe, you know. But something like this could be a level for her, or a level 2, right? And she gets level 3 again. She's like high HP. She gets that Fairy Fire. This is another concentration spell, but she can get people out of invisibility. Wouldn't that be useful in certain fights? Right. Certain enemies that go invisible. You're right. But yeah, so again, all of these, again, you need that, get that charisma up, get that DC up. And you need concentration. So level 4. Okay, so you get this Lay on Hand. Again, you got these like spells. You can prepare this and that. You can get like a Thunderous Smite. So she could like hit people hard. So I think this is, you know, you could build her like this. I'm kind of surprised. Does she not get Bane? Surprised. Actually, Protection from Good and Evil is not a bad one. Maybe it's because our charisma isn't great. Yeah, but yeah, but the level 4, I think you pretty much have to, with Paladin, pick Resilient Constitution. Although, like, you could rely on Smites, and you could rely on, like, your spells not necessarily being, or is it Resilient? Resilient, you know, like Constitution. I think that's what developers intended. That's why they gave her 13 Constitution, right? So you give her this Resilient Constitution, give her proficiency, and now with her armor, she can maintain that concentration, right? So that's kind of a good one. Right, and that level 5 is big one. She get that Darkness, though. Darkness doesn't really work with Paladin. Paladin is about charging in and like smacking things, right? Level 2, she could get like Branding Smite, I guess. That's kind of Paladin Heroism. She's not really a hero though. Like you could put like Searing Smite and you could give her like a magic weapon or something. Like she's not about, you know, less restoration. Again, like not a fan. You can do it. I'm just not a fan of like the vibe, like Aura of Protection. I mean, it's very nice. I mean, the class itself is very, very nice. This is super powerful, giving nearby allies gain +2 to saving throws that or disappears if you fall unconscious. Right? And if we got charisma to 1 more, we'd have +3. Obviously, we have to respec this. We get those points out of dex, out of strength and into dex, right? Let's go ahead and accept. For example, this is how she would be, right? Just generally as a character. What is this? Well, it's Avenger, yeah. If you hit them with an opportunity attack, your movement speed is increased by 4.5. Again, she doesn't need darkness. Like, she's not going to be in darkness. She's not going to be shooting out of darkness. She can't even... Like, she blinds herself when she does it. So why would you ever cast darkness as a paladin unless you wanted to, like, get the archers or someone like that out of their position and, like, you know, closer to you? She's all about, like, charging in as a vengeance paladin. But for charging in, you need to be in the thick of it. And to be in the thick of it, you need to have high AC, which she can. I think also, like, both Vengeance Paladin, what would actually work really well if we dropped strength to, like, 10 and increased dex to 20, you know, by level 12, she would always have the initiative. So I feel like Vengeance, you need to be, like, alert, and you need to, like, get in there and be the first to act. It's very hard to do. You'd need, like, Auntie Ethel's hair. Because at level 8, we only get a gap to level 7, because that's as far as we got with Krusk. But level 8, you could, like, up your, you know, if you started with, like, 17 dex, maybe 16 charisma, 14 con, yeah, you could get that up there. However, your constitution is still pretty low, to be honest, right? You know, still, I'd say pretty low for, like, a frontline fighter. So, I don't see Minthara as a frontline fighter. I just don't see it, right? Just don't see it. What I see her as a finesse rogue, not rogue though, she's not rogue either. She is a fighter, she is a caster, she is not sneaky, but she is underhand. She uses like smart moves to like hold the enemy in place. I feel like this is her iconic, like she bam, hold person, And then she rolls in there and just smack, crit, and you're done. Also, I feel like, if someone tried to explain to me, like, different stats in the game, and the way to explain charisma, like, it's literally the first thing that comes to mind for me is Minthara. Like, this is charisma. Like, if you look at her dialogue, even just as soon as you meet her, she kind of just assumes you've already done what she wants you to do, like, to a good standard, like, she just commands you. Like, she doesn't take orders. And so I don't see that. She's not a paladin. Like, she doesn't serve anyone. Well, I mean, I guess she did serve, like, Ketheric Thorn, but maybe she has a little bit of that. But generally speaking, she is, like, full of charisma. That's what she is. She's full of charisma. She's full of that force of character. She's relentless. She's, like, endurant. She's just you cannot break her as like, just psychologically especially. You might break her body, but, like, you will never break Minthara's mind. That's how I see her. She fights in, like, a finesse way, where it's like she needs to have high initiative. She charges in. She does something like, maybe casts darkness, hides in it, then whips out of there, like, jumps out of there with this massive blade, like, bam, bam, hits people, but always, like, supplementing her melee prowess with some spells, because she's, like, a drow elf. She has, like, a few spells, and, kind of has that element of surprise, and using sort of, like, a little bit underhand sort of, like, tactics, or, like, supplementary spells that kind of weigh or skew the favor, like, the combat in her favor, right? Not sort of, like, fair, but, who's to say, like, what's fair and what's not? And that's kind of how drow live. That's how they fight, and that's how they live, really. So that is how I see her. That is how I see her. Now, what does that actually mean? Oh no, unfortunately we messed up the character portrait. Oh, that sucks.
Let's move.
Okay, I think hopefully if we respec her, that will change. Now,
Another step forward.
how do I actually see her? We need to walk around with her. So we're gonna go to Withers, and I will explain, guys, where is she? Where is Withers? How I see her. There you go. There's Withers. There's Withers.
I shall be here in thy camp, for whenever thou hast need. As thou desire.
I'm gonna change her class, right? Again, we could go Paladin plus Cleric. I thought about it. She could be like a Cleric of Love, War Cleric. I think that's a possibility. But again, like, she's not about, like, buffing allies. Like, she's not about that. So, the way I see her is as a Warlock. Bound by now, and this is, like, the only kink I personally have, the only hesitation, is that a Warlock is bound by a pact to an all-powerful patron. Warlocks trade their loyalty for supernatural abilities and unique magic, right? Now, she, on the one hand, she's just been, like, betrayed by the Absolute, so she wouldn't really make a pact, right? But on the other hand, she actually does have a history of, like, falling under someone's influence and kind of trying to serve someone. I think she has that ability, certainly not ability, but that need, the innate need to be recognized, and, like, someone tell her, like, yes, you're good, Minthara, like, you've done a good job. Like, she has that. She's also, like, clearly, like, in it for power, like you saw in the first episodes when you meet her in the Grove. I don't think she's there about to, like, serve the Absolute, but why is she loyal to the Absolute? Because Absolute can provide her with personal power, right? She's not really there because of, like, religious reasons. Like, she's there like, oh, this is the patron who's powerful. If I serve her well, I will also become powerful, and then she'll do whatever. So I don't think she's kind of completely above this. I think it is believable. However, I would have liked if it was slightly different. But the way we sidestep that is we go with Warlock the Great Old One. You pledge something unthinkable to an unspeakably ancient entity, which in return furnished you with powers of cerebral entropy and control. So really like this one, because for me, like, again, immersively, thematically, the way to sidestep the Warlock kind of bound by a pact to an all-powerful patron, the way to sidestep that is to choose the subclass of the Great Old One. Originally, when I actually even started playing with the Krusk already, I was sure we're going to go Fiend, because I like the fact that you, like, heal as you hit. I feel like that will be Minthara. But this is like, you have pledged your soul to the Hells or Abyss in return for a deadly arsenal of fiendish arcana. And this one also gets Command, which is nice, which is, again, one of her, like, signature spells. But actually then, kind of halfway through this playthrough, I kind of, been playing around with the builds for, like, honestly, unhealthy amount of time. But I thought the Great Oiled One is actually perfect, because Minthara wouldn't really sell her soul, pledge her soul to a fiend. Like, she knows she's too smart, too cunning as a drow to do that, right? She knows that they will ask for something in return and slowly basically drain you all your power. The Great Old One, however, it's an unspeakably ancient entity, and I would roleplay this. I'm gonna roleplay this as her, like, just kind of going like within, and just like, reneging her like paladin oath, and just becoming like cynical over all these like kind of worldly deities, and like with this love for absolute, like they all betray her, they all discard her. So she kind of like in her mind, maybe, sort of in a way, she makes that pact almost with herself, with like her very, very inner self, and she kind of like, and there's only like Krusk who's within her circle of trust, but otherwise she's just gone, like she's lost that need now, and just abandoned it even, I would say, that need to be like recognized by someone, like absolute. She's just in it for herself, and the only people the only person she trusts is Krusk, and the only entity she will make like a pact with is almost like with her very, very inner self, or maybe some ancient like drow entity or something. The really interesting thing is that with the Great Old One at level 10, you get resistance to psychic damage, and also if anyone, I think, tries to like read your mind or like do mind control spell on you, they take psychic damage. And I feel like that fits perfectly with the theme of her like resisting the absolute and just like shielding her mind. Again, just speaks to the strength of her like mind and her charisma and her like spirit. And she makes this pact, right? I feel like that theme is perfect. Also, most of the spells you get with the Great Old One are more like control spells. So we obviously get like control person, dominate person, hold monster. And that's exactly how she would fight as like a drow, and this like reformed paladin who's abandoned it. So she would like, she would be nimble. She would have that strength, force of character. She would kind of be hit hard. She would like command people to like, be scared of her, or like, counterspell them, or like hold person everybody and then hit them with crits. So that is the theme we're kind of going with, and you'll see it through the first 7 levels. I think that fits her perfectly. I can't wait to play this. Also, obviously, as I always say, like I do pay attention to mechanics, and I do like characters to synergize, and given we're playing with 2 characters, we need like maximum synergies, right? And I think this synergizes super well with the assassin, right? We're gonna get all these control spells where we're going to, hold person, for example, just a basic one, right? And given warlock spells can be outcast, you can hold person like 3-4 people. As soon as we hold person, this is exactly what an assassin like Krusk would need, the kind of partner he would need, who would like hold person someone, and then he just lunges at them with these savage crits and just goes bam, 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 crit. And then we move on to the next target, and she's also like nimble, dark, cunning, just like him, right? They get that element of surprise, they act first, like, except, he has no magic, whereas she has some magic, but he's also very much a competent fighter, because Krusk like respects that. So I think this is completely in theme with like the drow, Minthara as a character, he will synergize really well with Krusk. So yeah, this is kind of what we're gonna go with, so let's go have a look. Right, you pledge something unthinkable to an unspeakably ancient entity, which in return furnishes you with powers of cerebral entropy and control. The subclass feature here is Mortal Reminder. When you land a critical hit against a creature, that creature and any nearby enemies must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become frightened until the end of their next turn. Perfect for us thematically, like Minthara is scary, right? Like when she hits something, she'll probably like cry out something with like a crit, and then or any like goblins, any enemies immediately get scared of her. Like she doesn't look strong, but she's one of those like savage type enemies that's so like relentless, have such like force of character, and the way they like move in battle is that everyone's like, oh my god, like this woman means business. And together with Krusk, I think especially. And so whenever she does crit, she will frighten everyone. That means they have disadvantage on attacks, and they also can't move. That's exactly it. For that moment. It's only for 2 turns, but you can imagine her in battle, like like killing people with her longsword, and then everyone's like, huh, just for a second, giving her that second to like move again and just hit another enemy and another enemy and another enemy. So again, that element of surprise, that crit, and all of that, I think that fits her like theme perfectly. However, to be said with that, it's actually, I think, quite hard to maximize crit. I haven't really found like a good way to maximize crit chance. We might be able to lower it like 1 or 2 points down with various items, but really it's like 1 or 2 points. So we're not going to be critting like all the time, but we don't need to either. But again, going with that theme of like savage attacks on Krusk, right? He crits a lot, she crits a lot. Now we can get obviously critical hits with hold person. So if we hold person one enemy, but he's surrounded with others, we crit that. That should trigger this. So again, that theme of like crits, savage, like fast, lightning fast strikes, her and Krusk together, just getting in there, bam, 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 killing everything, like before they can even say like, you know, who's this, right? Now spells wise, we're gonna cancel these. So Warlock, you know, this is level 1 Warlock. So we would get Dissonant Whispers. I think that is a very good spell. So we get Frighten a creature. So this is, you know, without the crit, we just frighten a creature. They'll have disadvantage ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move, right? For 2 turns. On save, target still takes half damage. So psychic damage, really, really good. The fact that this is upcastable, really good. And this is what you need to pay attention to when picking spells for Warlock. You need to put kind of extra value on spells that are upcastable, because many of their spells are not. And you know, their key feature is that you get two spell slots per short rest until like level 11 you will get 3, right? And yeah, level 1 and 2 I think you get 1. But pretty much most of the game really you get 2 spell slots, right? They do move up in levels, and you upcast spell, you can only upcast it at the highest level, and you only get 2 spells per short rest, so per fight effectively, right? This is a good one. This will be upcastable. This will last us all game. It is also not concentration based, and the very few of Warlock spells are not concentration ones. The ones we'll pick and the ones that are useful. So this is a good one. We just cause Frighten. We give it disadvantage. It can't move. We also deal damage. You know, it will always be worth, and it will kind of step up in damage as we level up. So it will remain useful throughout. Again, it's also one of the 2 Tashas and Whispers is the kind of unique. Well, yeah, unique spells unique to the Great Old One. So I like the kind of like maintaining that theme there. So we'll take this one and we'll keep it. Now, Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I don't really think Minthara is into making anyone fun laugh. It is a good spell though. It is not upcastable, so you can't, I believe, like I don't want to say anything wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not upcastable, unfortunately. It doesn't work on any creature though, makes it prone. Prone would trigger Krusk's crits if he attacks within 3 meters, which he always does. So it is a good one, synergizes well, but like Minthara isn't about making people laugh. She's about like frightening people and killing them. So with that, the second choice here doesn't really matter, but you know, let's go over this as though we would build a Warlock. Just use this opportunity to kind of see how you would build the Great Old One Warlock with someone like Minthara. If maybe some of you want to like play, you know, a male drow with her, or you just male drow in any campaign, or female drow, and just make a similar character but start from the beginning. Again, like I said, all of this episode will be dedicated to character creation, so we're gonna go full geek on this. So if she were a level 1 character, I would probably pick Hex with Minthara. Like Armor of Agathis, very viable choice. I mean, you get like, you start with 10 HP. Armor of Agathis, the thing is, you only get like a level 1 spell slot, right, at the start. So, I mean, plus 50% HP and you get 5 damage, really, really good. You'd only be able to cast either this one or that one. I'd probably pick Armor of Agathis, to be honest. Because if you cast Armor of Agathis on like your first spell slot, then you short rest and you don't use it, you could even in theory, if you're finding like honor mode challenging and whatnot, you know, that's one thing you could do, just short rest, and then you get your spell slot back, and now you have Armor of Agathis and, you know, an ability to cast Dissonant Whispers if you wanted to, right? Really good one. The other, I think, very viable, very good choice is Hex, because that gives you 1d6, so even with, you know, dual wielding longsword, it's a 1d10, so this is a plus 1d6, so it's easily as a 1d10 you on average hits for 5. This is with Hex, you on average add 3, so it's, you know, it's like 50% damage, you know, sometimes more, sometimes less, but very good spell. You know, again with her armor, obviously you wouldn't have that if you just started, but you know, with good constitution, you'll be able to maintain concentration and you get good value out of it. Although being in melee, you're more likely to get hit. Every time you get hit, it's a DC 10 on a Constitution saving throw. So here, okay, you would probably have like at least 14, maybe 16 Constitution. with a warlock, right? And so you'd have like +2/+3, so you need to roll like a 7, so you'd have like 65, like 2/3 chance to maintain concentration on every hit, and like a third to drop it, you know. DC can rise if you get hit really, really hard. If you get really, I can't remember what the number is, but I think it's half the damage you get hit for, or DC 10, whichever is higher, right? So if you get hit for like 30 damage, then DC will be 15. But for the start of the game, like this could work really, really well. Now, ability points. Let's clear all of this. And here, yeah, we'll talk about proficiency in a second. So, let's talk about ability points. So first of all, strength. I give Minthara 10. Like, she's not weak. I think arguably, I always think like female characters who are like nimble dex based, I'm okay dropping this to 8. Say with like halflings or gnomes, I feel like they could be like less strong than average. However, she is a fighter. She's, I think it's also especially for archer characters. I just feel thematically it fits them. But, you know, Minthara she's been a fighter all her life. Like, she's well physically developed. She's not super strong, but she's a 10, I think. Also, kind of strength save is important for casters insofar as you do get shoved or hit or, you know, made prone somehow. You will lose your concentration, right? So you can have great concentration saving throw, and you can have advantage with your armor, but if someone makes you prone, you lose that. And with Warlock, you only get 2 spell slots. So if you cast something big and that's, you know, key part of your battle strategy, you know, 1 prone and you're done. So, you know, again, you can't maximize strength for that reason, but you do want to, I think, pay attention to it. Then, dexterity. We are going to go with, I'm trying to remember what I actually did. Yeah, 14. Now, dexterity is important for, you know, armor. Now, she's wearing light armor, obviously, so +2, which, you know, in theory, your warlock could be, you know, under where circumstances wearing medium armor. So I do think you always want like 14 dex at least on a martial character. You also want that to get that +2 to a medium armor. You do, you know, 16 is also viable because you could get medium armor master and get +3 medium armor. Also nice to have the initiative, right? I mean, obviously, if she was like a paladin, would max this so that she can use like a finesse longsword and maximize her, you know, hit chance and this and that. Here, we will be giving Minthara gloves of dexterity for sure. I think it would be perfect for her, and I'll explain. I will go over the items after we build out the character. So she will have this at 18. However, you know, I don't like to cheese the game, even in this auto mode scenario. I don't like to cheese it and just go 10 and give her gloves of dexterity. I kind of want to build her as though I'm building like a character from level 1, because, you know, yes, I could obviously dump this in dexterity, and yes, that's better, but I don't want to cheese it. To me, that's like immersion breaking. I do think conceivably this could be a character that I could have taken from level 1 all the way up to this point as a warlock. So we're going to go with 14. A little bit of initiative, a little bit of dex, a little bit of armor, I guess AC with that. You know, it's not great. I mean, I wish I could more, but you'll see we just won't have the points. Constitution. No, actually, sorry. No, we're going to go with 15. So why 15? Because we're going to get a +1 and we'll end up with 16. How we're going to do that? We're going to take Resilient Constitution feat at level 4. Why do we do that? Well, because A, she's a frontline fighter. She is a competent fighter. She will get extra attacked with Pact of the Blade, right? That's the pact we're going to be going with. So she will be on the front lines. She will be hitting people. She will be obviously taking damage. We'll try to get her SC to a decent level. So she needs the HP. Warlocks do get decent HP as well. So, you know, kind of not too high, not too low, but decent. You know, so it's, you know, good to maximize that. Gets a good amount of HP. She's a frontline fighter. I do think she's kind of like resolute. She has that endurance, just like kind of Krusk. And so that kind of fits her thematically. It fits her mechanically. Also, most of the Great Old One spells especially are all concentration based. That means we must have our constitution as high as possible to get that +3 to saving throws. Now we're also going to get this 2+1 and get the proficiency, which will effectively double our saving throws, right? Because you get +2, then +3, then +4 efficiency. So we get +3 from our stat, plus for most of the game it's +3 from proficiency. At higher levels, level 9 onwards, it will be +4. Plus with our armor with advantage, you know, effectively we will never, you know, no enemy will be able to shake off our concentration. So once we cast hold person, If we land it, that's it. Minthara will hold it. If it's darkness, she will hold it. Dominate beast, any of those spells, and that's kind of how I see her. She has that that force of character. Her spells matter. She doesn't do a lot, but she does like a couple of things. But when Minthara like sinks her teeth into something or like sets her mind on something, you cannot shake her off. Like she will just do anything it takes to do it. So I think fits her character like perfectly, fits the playstyle perfectly. Again, synergizes very well, as I already said, with Krusk with those spells, the concentration spells. And yeah, just she's a frontline fighter. So we'll up that to 16. Intelligence-wise, she's not a stupid nor particularly smart. Maybe she's obviously a noble. She had an education. She's a spellcaster and all of that. So like I don't like dropping her intelligence to 8. I think it should be 10. She's kind of like average. She's had an education. She obviously lived her life as a martial fighter, and her powers from casting come from that force of character, her mental power, and maybe that pact with that deep ancient entity. Not really because she's studied for a long time. Hence limited spell selection, and all of that. Wisdom wise, we give her 10, right? So yeah, senses and intuition. Let's kind of see. Yeah, this one, I mean, I would love this to be higher. I'm trying to remember, to be honest, my build now myself. We'll see. Maybe we can get that up a little bit. I think we will be, yeah. But generally, she has good senses and intuition, right? Although one can also argue that she got fooled by like Absolute and Lolth in the past. Like, okay, maybe she's like, she needs to like kind of get her wisdom up a little bit, right? But generally, yeah, she can read people. But she also, I think, even in the camp, in the goblin camp, in the temple, when you meet her first, she's a bit like, she's not that character. She's not very subtle. Like, she doesn't maybe read people. She just commands people. She has this like supreme confidence. I would say she's overconfident. And she's kind of more like a head-on person. So she's not like, well, I'm going to read this person and kind of try to find the right approach. I'm just going to like tell this person, that's what I don't think that's what she's like. She's more like, I'm going to tell this person what to do right now. And if he doesn't do it, I'm going to like do the Darth Vader thing and just like rise him up in the air and choke him, or just get the sword out and chop his head off. And that's it. She's not subtle, but she can understand when people are lying to her a little bit. And she's generally aware of her environment. As a drow, she's probably always like a noble drow, like she's on guard against assassination attempts and such. But not too high, and not too low. I guess sort of like average. Charisma wise, what was I going to do with charisma, to be honest? I forgot. It wasn't supposed to be 15, it was supposed to be 16, if I'm honest with you guys. How did I do that? No. Yeah, this is how we do it. Yeah. So this was the split, sorry. So we give ourselves, 1 in dexterity, so that's 14. And another reason I'm fine with dexterity being at 10 is because we do get the proficiency bonus to saving throws, right? And again, there will be another way we're going to rectify her wisdom, because she, like, I kind of don't like the fact that, well, I don't like it, it's just the way it is. But the fact that, like, control spells mostly hit wisdom, I kind of feel they should feel charisma, because charisma is the first personality and, like, mental, like, resistance. So I kind of, to me, like, charisma is the one that should be used to resist, like, hold person and, like, control, dominate person, things like that. But it's not like it is. So, for that reason, I do think her wisdom should be kind of higher, because she has the senses and intuition, maybe not in, like, interpersonal relationship, but she definitely has the force of, like, will and mind. But she does have proficiency in it as a warlock. And again, like I said, we're going to kind of double down on it through an item. And so, that will be enough. Charisma-wise, she's at 16, again. And I like the fact that this is her main stat. I feel like as a character, just in her dialogue, like the way she comes through, I feel like she is charisma embodied to me. And so I am not, like, surprised, and I really quite like the fact that with the Pact of the Blade, she basically binds her weapon, and she relies on, like, her force of will and that mental fortitude to fight, not on, like, dexterity. Although we'll get that up to 18 as well. But she's got that, she's super endurant, super resilient, mentally, physically. She's got the dexterity because she's been trained as, like, a dexterous fighter. And, we'll get that up. Unfortunately, we have to start 16 because Krusk has already taken Auntie Ethel's hair. But, it will be enough. She doesn't need a lot of feats. Our feats are going to be resilient constitution, and then twice we're going to go up in charisma to 20. Because we need that spell DC. We need that, obviously, that Eldritch Blast. All of that goodness, right? We need... yeah, we need to, and, you know, that plus to attack and damage with the packed weapon, all of that we're gonna need. So that's the stats, guys. That's the stat distribution. And before I kind of forget, I don't know why we didn't do this to start, but let's, for cantrips, we're gonna go with Eldritch Blast, of course. Again, that's why she fights without shield, and obviously like a two-hander, because she can always like kind of get one hand off of the hilt and just be like bam, 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 hit you with Eldritch Blast. That's kind of how I see her. Her other cantrip would be Bone Chill, right? Prevent target from healing. I feel like that's very much Minthara. It gives a disadvantage on attack rolls to undead. Really good cantrip. I kind of, for a long time, I thought like, oh, 1/8. Why is that like worse than like, let's say, with a sorcerer than a bolt, or even like a ray of frost? And I thought like 2 dice damage. Who would ever use it? That was like a year ago when I started playing properly. And now I understand, man, the power of preventing your enemies from healing, massive. And that's Minthara. That's Minthara for sure. So there we go. Eldritch Blast and Bone Chill. Those are her cantrips. These are our spells. That's our ability. This is our stat distribution. Let's go ahead and talk about skills. Now, what do we get? We get Deception, Intimidation, Performance, Persuasion. We get Persuasion from Noble, as well as History. So she had an education, and she's kind of civilized, so she probably like been taught to persuade. She's got a lot of charisma, so she can deceive, intimidate, and perform, I guess. Well, she did have the Liar. That's what she gave us. So maybe she's got, again, that noble education. She does have Perception from Race. Kind of doesn't really show up here. It's just like a bug. Can't believe they haven't fixed that in patch 8 still. But it's there. You know, she can do it. And we have 2 choices. So I would say maybe Arcana, because she's not great at magic. Again, she draws her arcane power from Pact, not from like studying. But I think it's a good one. Of all the choices, Religion, maybe I would give her. Investigation, as like, you know, just to pay homage to her like Oath of Vengeance past. She would like track victims down. Although I don't think she ever did that, to be honest. But I feel like Religion, you know, she's been like, she's so lost, she's so the absolute. I think she's like, she knows all the deities now. Definitely not Nature. One other thing is I don't know, I've sort of struggled it. I still haven't made up my mind, although I'm leaning against this decision. But I thought maybe if we pick her up, she could become the face of the party and she could do the talking. Obviously makes a lot of sense with high charisma, you know, just, you know, she already has +3 to everything. On the other hand, I'm afraid that, you know, and I'm fine with that, like Cross taking a back seat. She definitely wants to be the leader and all of that. However, the only thing I'm afraid of is that if she's the one talking, then we won't see those unique interactions with her during dialogue, right? It's I want the Krusk maybe to continue to be the lead character, and then she will get those, you know, extra dialogue lines if she wants to comment on anything. So you know, again, maybe you guys are doing similar playthrough or whatnot. You could go Deception, Intimidation, and make her the face of the party. I feel that's viable. But since it's not, she's just gonna do like Religion, Arcana checks for anything maybe we encounter in the world. Maybe we go Investigation. This is a possibility. I mean, it's a bit meta-gamey, but I feel like she's always been a spellcaster. Maybe Investigation. Yeah, maybe she's the one who like to sniff people out as a drow. Yeah, maybe as a drow, like noble. Yeah, she's on the lookout for any danger. Let's go Investigation, Religion. Yeah, I think so. So there you go, guys. That's the character. That's how we're gonna play her. And now let's just dive deeper and just see how we're gonna synergize further. I want to make sure. Yeah, I got it right. I mean, you could also go like 10 strength, 12 wisdom, possible. But again, she has that proficiency, whereas strength she actually will suffer. So I like this. I genuinely like try to keep the base stats at 10 for everybody, unless there's like a thematic reason. I mean, Krusk has intelligence of 8 and charisma of 8, but that's kind of, I think that fits him very well. He has like senses and intuition at 14 though. But again, as a fighter, he has proficiency in rogue, sorry. He has proficiency in dex and intelligence. So again, with Krusk it works because he balances out his lack of intelligence with that proficiency. And so he doesn't have memory and mental power. He's never studied and anything. He's an urchin. But he, as a rogue, he does have those keen senses to remain like on guard against any trickery. So he has like the street smarts. I feel like that's what his proficiency represents. Anyway, here we are. Let's go ahead and confirm. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be Minthara. So let's go ahead and go up in a level. So that's Warlock level 2. We get 7 HP, very decent. And with Fighter, I think like with Rogue we were getting 8, right? And with Fighter we were getting 9 currently with Krusk. But here we are, level 2. We gain another Warlock spell slot. I think this is still a level 1. What we're gonna go with here, again, if I played her as like, you know, real character, I would go with Hex. Now that we have 2 spell slots, I would go with Hex. You know, that extra damage, I feel like this is exactly what Minthara would be. You know, she hexes someone and then she attacks. So the playstyle is good. Arms of Hadar is more for like getting away. Not really sure why she would do that, but maybe when swarmed, possible. Again, Tasha's Laughter already discussed. The rest don't really make sense to me. I feel like Hellish Rebuke is always like a tiefling spell. I don't know, that's how I see it. Expeditious Retreat, yeah. I really like the Warlock class because I think there's so many different ways to build it. But anyway, that's what we're gonna go with. And by the time we get to level 7, to be honest, we're gonna switch this out, and I'll explain why. Eldritch Invocations, we're gonna go with Agonizing Blast. And there's actually more choices than I think people often give credit. I am gonna go with Repelling Blast. That is what people often recommend, and kind of, in fact, people don't even often recommend it. People often say that this is like the default. I disagree. Like, I think Repelling Blast is really not necessary on all Warlocks. It's a good one, but I feel like Armor of Shadows, if you didn't have light armor, is very much viable. I think Beguiling Influence is really good. Proficiency Deception. Like, if she was our main character when I was playing around with the builds, this would be awesome to have, right? Beguiling Influence is really, really good. Devil's Sight, we're going to get that later. There's no point in getting that at level 2. Although, you know, again, in Finnan and Linus, our current playthrough, obviously Linus got that at level 2. But that's because Findan can cast Darkness as a Shadow Sorcerer at level 3. But here, she will be the one casting Darkness. You know, you don't get that until level 5, I believe, as a racial ability. You could get the spell a little earlier. So if you want to use a spell, you could take Devil's Sight. But if we're going to use a racial ability, we can wait. Fiendish Vigor, again, not as bad as people say. Yes, it's only 7 temporary HP, right? So it doesn't upcast. But if you think about it, she has 17 HP now. 7 HP, right? Fiendish Vigor, you can cast False Life on your will as a level 1 spell slot without spending a slot. So that's 7 over 17. That's slightly less than half. That's 40% HP. And just whatever build you do, guys, with like all characters have around 14-16 con, whether it's a fighter or, you know, a sorcerer, you end up by the end of the game, or warlock, you end up with something like, you know, 85 to 110 HP, I would say. Kind of around 100, call it 100, right? Or maybe a little bit less for like caster characters. 7 HP, even on 100, is 7% HP. Is it a lot? Not really. But for free, you know, I'd take it. You know, we just got 7 HP from a level up, so this is like plus 1 level in HP, you know. I think it's actually pretty good. Yes, it does fall off towards endgame, but for most of the game, and especially at the start, if you're like a little bit afraid of auto mode, I think this is very viable. I think it's actually, I'd say it's perfectly balanced. Not too strong, and nowhere near as weak as people make it out to be. Mask of Many Faces is actually pretty cool. I wish this could do like the whole party. I would actually take it. And actually in the my original Krusk build actually involved 4 levels of Rogue, 2 levels of Warlock, and it's precisely so that we could get like one with Shadows and Mask of Many Faces, and then I would have given him like 6 levels of Fighter. But then later on I've changed that. But Mask of Many Faces thematically could be kind of cool. And there's like many different builds with Warlocks, like Rogues and whatnot, that you could get it. I think it's a nice one. Doesn't really fit us, doesn't really fit Minthara, so it doesn't really fit our playthrough. You know, synergies with Krusk aren't there. Doesn't really fit Minthara as a character, so this one would drop. One with Shadows, I actually considered this one several times. It's a good one because, you know, if she ever finds herself in a pinch, or if Krusk, you know, gets invisibility from an item, she could just go with like one with the Shadows and hide. Not too bad. I think one with Shadows doesn't let you move though. If you move, yeah. So this one is kind of like, you have to be away, but she will be mostly further away. Although she's a melee, she will close in as well. But she'll be like kind of in the back, waiting to like pounce when the coast is clear, so to speak. And Krusk will be our frontliner. So, possibility. Now, Repelling Blast, again, not necessary. And despite what many people say, I do not believe it's like absolutely necessary, because you don't always want to push people away, and you can also pick like anything else. But in our case, because she'll often be concentrating on area of effect spells, especially as we'll see by the spells we pick, it will be quite nice. And also because you can't really get that high AC with her, it will be nice to like push people away as they come to her, and it's kind of an extra way of keeping her safe. So you keep her safe through AC, you keep her safe through pushing people away. You get more mileage out of like Hunger of Hadar, or like Blade, what is it? I can't remember. Blade Storm. That spell. You push people in, push people off ledges, and I feel like Minthara, her agonizing blast would be pushing people away. She's exactly that. She's controlling the battlefield. She is like, when she does something with like great force. That's how she is. So I think this one fits her perfectly. Thieves of Five Fates. I think this is a good one. Bane targets up to 3. I wish if this didn't like use a spell slot, I would actually maybe pick this, because I think this is very much like Minthara, a great spell. We are already baning people with Krusk though, to be honest, also with Gloves of Power, and he can even bane 2 people at the same time. And Bane gives you -1 die 4 to saving throws, and that means Minthara can hold person people much easier, right? Combine that with Fala of Aluve and Shriek and whatnot, it will make it even easier, and we're going to see other ways we can increase our DC. And so Minthara will be lending her control spells, guys. Easy, right? But obviously this one she would actually have to hold concentration herself, so not great, but in any other Warlock, I think this is a great spell. Great, Eldritch Invocation. Arguably better than Repelling Blast, to be honest. So, in a party of like 2 or 3 especially, like really, really good one. But we're going to go with Repelling Blast. That's it. That's it for level 2. Level 3. Again, more HP. Very nice. We're now 24 HP. Spells. We finally get level 2 spells. If I was, again, playing this as a character, I would actually go for Mirror Image. Now, a lot of people will jump to like Hold Person, Darkness, or, Cloud of Daggers. Sorry, that was what the spell was called. However, the reason I don't like any of these, you could go Detect Thoughts. That's actually another option to get Detect Thoughts and play her as a main character. Again, like great choice, because it is a ritual spell, I believe. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm pretty sure it is. So, all good. Invisibility is not a bad one. But the reason I don't like any of these is because they require... Well, first of all, Cloud of Daggers is a good one, but it requires concentration. Without proficiency in Constitution, like once you put Cloud of Daggers down, in order to keep the enemy in one place, you're going to have to close in with them. As soon as you get hit, right now, her chance to hold concentration is 60%, and 40% of the time she will lose it. You're going to hit 2-3 times per turn, probably. Right? You're going to lose that concentration, so it's a complete waste. You basically cast this once, and that's it. So I wouldn't recommend picking this level 3. It's a great spell, but you just... Unless you're like a type of Warlock that hangs way in the back, but then how are you going to pin the enemies? And if the enemies just walk through this once, then honestly, you might as well just keep Eldritch Blasting them. You'll probably do more damage, more reliably. Things like Crown of Madness, or even Hold Person, really good. I mean, they need concentration, but that's okay. You can stand back if you want to cast those spells. The problem with these spells is that even if you started with 17 Charisma, which is exactly the same as 16, you just don't have the spell DC. You don't have any items at level 3. To be honest, like, you're never going to land this. Like, I keep falling into this trap myself, where I pick this spell, on like first map around the Grove, and like, there's no point in Hold Personing like a little enemy, right? You want to Hold Person like a boss or something, given you only have 2 spell slots. Although you could, like, arguably you could. Maybe I just underuse it. Crown of Madness, I'd even maybe pick this, but you have like 50-60% chance to land it, because lots of enemies have Wisdom proficiency and high Wisdom. Bosses especially, like, you're never gonna Hold Person like Draw Raglan or someone, Or even if you do, they will break from it next turn. So, for that reason, if I was playing like a real Warlock, I would actually put Mirror Image, because that is like you click, you get +9 AC. Your AC is probably pretty low early game. I think this is super powerful, super useful, And you could even maybe do Mirror Image, and then at level, 1 level up. Well, actually, let's talk about that. Yeah, then you could cast something, or even from a scroll, right? Something you concentrate on, because then you're relying not on your constitution proficiency and saving throw, but on your AC to maintain that for a few turns and do some damage, or cause a control effect. And you're relying on this, and you have 2 spells, so you could have 6 hits on you before enemies start hitting you, let's say, with this mirror image. And as a frontline fighter, synergizes perfectly. Level 3, massive. You click on this at the start of the combat, you run in, you do like attack, and so on. Well, I guess here you just do 1 attack for now, but yeah, very, very useful. Help you maintain concentration, help you avoid damage, help while you are hitting people. Excellent. Now, Pact Boon, I won't go into too much detail, but clearly, like Minthara for our playthrough is, we need the damage, we need the extra attack. We also need her to bind her Pact weapon. Again, I want her to use her charisma for hitting and damage, because again, I feel like this is her main stat. This is why I really like having her as a warlock, because I believe she's defined by charisma. She is the charisma stat to me. Like if anyone asks me what is charisma, like give me one character that show me charisma in the real world, I'd say watch some dialogue with Minthara. That is charisma. Again, obviously all of this is slightly subjective, but she is charisma. So I want her that bind pact weapon. It becomes magical damage. I mean, most weapons magical damage anyway. You cannot drop or throw it. Again, Minthara is not about throwing. She also has that force of will and character where she doesn't give up. So you wouldn't disarm her. She holds on to her weapon, and she has those wits that she would never drop her weapon, right? And exactly, that sort of dexterous, again, like drow type fighting is that you're nothing without your weapon and without movement. So again, thematically, I think fits her perfectly. Doesn't want to throw her weapon, like she does the hand crossbows. You become proficient with it if you want already. So yeah, again, like Minthara, she has that background of a noble fighter. She's probably been taught to fight with many weapons. You could even weave in that she was a paladin, and now she's reneged that oath, but she's been taught to fight with many, many different types of weapons, right? In her little castle with probably like 3 tutors. And so the pact kind of gives her ability to effectively use any weapon in the game, and become proficient with it. So we will be using a longsword, but that's how she is. She was using a mace before, but again, fits her perfectly. I got a 1 pact weapon at the time. Again, I greatly favor like characters not switching items too often, kind of have those iconic items on them. So yeah, so perfect. She got a Pact of the Blade. She can summon other. This again will be thematically, I think, kind of works. Again, she has so much charisma that she would just like summon any weapon that's good for the job at any time. I think fits her perfectly. Our gameplay, I think it also fits. If anyone has any resistances, we will be using probably like Pact of the Blade and just like summoning, bludgeoning weapon. I think that's kind of cool to use even in combat if it's possible. But even before combat, just as a little bit of preparation. I feel like again that's Minthara. She's not hitting with dexterity or even strength. She's hitting with her charisma. She fights with her charisma. Now, race ability here, Drow Magic Fairy Fire. Again, really, really good one. It's another concentration. Only once per long rest, but that's enough. It's a niche spell. A really good one. Right, all targets within the light turn visible, and attack rolls against them have advantage. Great for Krusk. Get people out in invisibility, give him advantage. He attacks with his sneak attacks. She can see everyone. She attacks with advantage. Helps her out with hitting people. Right? Again. And concentration, so once she casts this, she will maintain that concentration, right? Again, with her armor and with that constitution proficiency and 16 con, you will not shake off her concentration, unless you make her go prone. Which I like also, like even when I design characters, I like leaving them with like an Achilles heel that can like throw a bit of a wrench into our builds and like our fighting. So, great spell, works well with Drow, works well with like Paladin kind of vengeance background, past. Works well with our Krusk and Minthara, like our actual playthrough. Works well with our stats and synergizes well with all of our other spells. Like, I love it. What can I say? I love it. Now here, we can go ahead and immediately, well, I mean, typically, like, I wouldn't do this in a normal playthrough. But right now, to go, so we can start switching these out. Because in reality, You could probably keep, again, like I wouldn't do this if I was actually playing this out, but I'm gonna do it now just so I don't forget to switch out some spells. But level 3, I mean, at like level 4, 5, I think you would switch out Armor of Agathis because you're gonna start getting like level 3 spell slots. If I was really playing, it's probably one of the first spells I would switch out because you're now having like good amount of HP. You would be upcasting this, you're getting like 10 HP, but just like with False Life, you would progressively get less of a percentage increase in HP from Armor of Agathis. I think it falls off quite quickly. Faster even than, Hex, because Hex still does 1d6 on top of your 1d10, unless, you could also be, if you're using dual wielding with a Warlock, you could also be, you could be doubling your damage still, right, because you have 2 short swords, let's say, 1d6 each, and you'd hit it twice, hex target, get 1d6 on each one, just like we're doing with Krusk now, with the Revenge of Broodmother. And that was my original build with him. That's another reason I wanted him to dip into Warlock. I even had him as a fighter at some point to get that Constitution proficiency to maintain that hex. But we went with what we went. I just wanted him to be like a pure fighter. But Armor of Agathis, I feel like fall off. You only have two slots. Although, arguably, you could do Armor of Agathis on the first short rest, cast 1 spell, then short rest, and then maintain it if you're playing the type of Warlock that stands back. But that's not what we're doing, so this probably falls off. And the one spell I feel like you have to have as Minthara, I would probably switch out like Cloud of Daggers, because this one you can actually like maintain concentration on from a distance at least, and like help your allies. So let's go with that. The reason Cloud of Daggers, let's go ahead and accept, but the reason Cloud of Daggers is really, really good on a Warlock, once you hit, for example, like with Minthara, we're going to hit a feat, and let's just go straight away, go into Resilient Constitution, right? We now have +3 from Constitution and +2, and by the time we get to level 7, we'll be +3, so +6 to Constitution saving throws. So now we're 80% likely, we're 80% to hold our spell and 20% to drop it. Given she has wearing her armor, Spider Silk armor, she has advantage. So again, like it's almost impossible to throw off her concentration. And that makes spells like, Cloud of Daggers great because we can maintain that concentration now, right, while being in melee and holding the person in place. But another great thing about Cloud of Daggers is that it is upcastable. So it will scale up and it will do really great damage. There's no saving throw on that slashing damage. It will do damage when we cast it, and every time an enemy walks in through or starts their turn in it. It's a really, really great spell on someone like Minthara. And on Great Old One Warlock especially, given most of the spells, as you'll see, we're going to start getting a lot of control spells. To get a bit of damage in, Cloud of Daggers is excellent. Now, level 4. Feat, this is the key. This is where the Warlock really opens up. Cantrip. We're gonna go with Minor Illusion, I think. Blade Ward is I really like this one, but it's so hard to use it. Don't need Poison Spray. Toll of the Dead. We have the Bone Chill. True Strike, very hard to make use of. Mage Hand, kind of useless. Friends, she's not gonna be the main character. Booming Blade, maybe, but I would do it later, and I'll explain why when we get to it. For now, Minor Illusion, again, to help kind of set things up for spells that are about to come, like Hunger of Hader, just in like next level. Very good. You cast that, you get them all in the middle. You cast Arms of Hadar, and you get maximum value out of it. Also the fact that she's playing with Krusk, also the fact that she's a drow, she's ex-noble, something like a Minor Illusion I think fits her character, playstyle, and our synergizes well with Krusk really, really well. Great cantrip, getting a little bit of that trickery, drow cunning in there. Really, really good. It will help us a lot as well. Spells wise, again, a little early still because we only have 16 charisma. But by level 4, even when you play on our own, you can start to get ways, such as, for example, having a longsword, or even a greatsword. You pummel strike, right? You give them disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, and you cast this, right? Daze lasts for 2 turns. So you can even go in, daze them, hit them with a main hand attack. Daze also prevents attacks of opportunity, then fall back, and then cast Hold Person. Really good spell. Darkness choice, a viable choice. I don't want to overuse it in this playthrough, particularly because Krusk won't be able to see through darkness. And that's another reason I wanted to dip him 2 levels into Warlock to give him Devil's Sight too. But then I've abandoned that idea, and we have another playthrough based on darkness, sort of with Findan and Linus. So I don't want to overuse this. I wanted her to be like frontline fighter, holding control, but at level 5 she will get a racial darkness, and that's, you know, that's good. That frees up a spell slot for us, and we'll kind of situationally use darkness when we, you know, when we really need to. Again, I would have said Detect Thoughts is nice if she was a lead character. This is step you can get, unfortunately, to be honest, you can get this in so many other ways from items. I really hate that, because it's just, I think like it devalues Mr. Step to 0 across all characters and spellcasters. You have so many scrolls of it, it's just, it's not worth anything. Phantasmal Force is great. I love it, except for the fact that it is not upcastable, and I can't believe that it's not. I feel like it's really, really lame. It's only a 1d6. If this could at least be upcasted like every level from now on, from like level 2, and I mean, come on, I think it would be fair, and I think that would make this spell, it's a concentration spell, right? Kind of like Hex. But I feel like if you could hit this and you could just do like psychic damage, or, I mean, I know it also switches damage type, which I think is a bit weird, but this could have been great. Like, when I saw this for the first time, I was like, oh, this is the one we're going to get. It's one of the damaging spells, like straight up damage, not a control, but it's not upcastable, and that just sucks. I feel like that's unbalanced. I mean, again, I'm not like game designer. I'm not even, I would say even that knowledgeable about BG3, but it sucks. Crown of Madness is actually, I think, a cool one once you get the DC up. Unfortunately, it is also not upcastable, so you can't do this to 2-3 targets, I'm pretty sure. But kind of a cool spell. I felt like this would be Minthara's, like, you know, signature. I mean, her signature spell is really Hold Person, let's be honest. But Crown of Madness could fit her, but the reason I decided not to pick it is because it's not upcastable. Just like Phantasmal Force would be very much on theme for her. I mean, she could make a great Hexblade, by the way, but when I was starting this playthrough, I didn't know patch 8 would come out, so I never designed her as a Hexblade. We also have, you know, everyone's playing Hexblade, so I just wanted to stick with my original plan and not make her Hexblade. And I still think actually maybe Great Olden fits her better, but she could easily be a really nice Hexblade. Replacing spells, what do we have? Yeah, we could at level 4. I mean, realistically, I would maintain Hex. Yeah, I'd probably keep Hex up to this point, to be honest, anyway. And there we go. This is where this, you know, if you imagine like level 4, a Warlock really comes online. Level 5, massive, big level. Obviously, why? Because we get deep and packed. We get extra attack with their packed weapon. I mean, super strong. Another 8 HP, and we're now up to 43 HP, so I didn't actually notice. Well, I mean, that's at level 5, so it's plus 5 extra HP. We would have been at 38 without that plus 1 constitution. Right, we're now 43 HP, very capable, extra attack, very competent melee fighter. Unfortunately, I was at charisma at 16, which would kind of suck. But at this point, you could conceivably have gloves of dexterity, right, from the Rosemont Monastery, which give you, you know, they get your dex up to 18, which doesn't really matter with your packed weapon, but they do give you also plus 1 attack. So it's as though you have 18 charisma for the purposes of attack rolls, but not damage rolls. So you wouldn't damage as much, but you know, you get pommel strike and hold person, and then you crit. That's enough damage, right? You just have to be a bit smarter with the Warlock, right? And exactly that's the type of fighter Minthara is, right? She's cunning and like a little bit underhand, or supplements her fighting style with some, you know, spells and like some tactics, so to speak. So yeah, so there you go. We get level 3 spells here. Now, lots of choices. Obviously, though, Hunger of Hadar, excellent, right? Again, that blindness, again, synergizes with who Minthara is as a drow. They get darkness, you know, from their racial, but the Hunger of Hadar is kind of like darkness with damage. Synergizes well with Krusk, synergizes well with Minor Illusion, as I just talked. Damaging spell as well. You'll see from now on we'll pretty much be getting a lot of like control spells, but Hunger of Hadar, really good. Very solid level 3 spells if you're playing solo or duo. Like, this is a massive power spike, together with Eldritch Blast and Agonizing Blast. We could throw them back into it. We have extra attack for when they finally come out from it. We just finish them off. Like, excellent. Again, we maintain concentration. Like, it's impossible. Not impossible, but very unlikely we'll lose our concentration with Minthara. Even if you weren't playing Minthara, you could get her armor by this point. So, again, excellent. Hunger of Hadar is like the strongest choice. Now, we're obviously going to get Devil's Sight, because now as a racial ability, we're getting Darkness. All of that is discussed already. You could argue, like, yeah, getting Devil's Sight for just one cast of Darkness, but Darkness is so powerful that, yes, I think it is worth it. Like, our other choices at this point, yeah, they're not. Yeah, Maya the Mind could be a choice, but I found it, like, you know, I've played around with the build, like, a lot. I find that, to be honest, you have enough spell choices. Like, you don't need that many. Bestow Curse is kind of cool, but not really all that cool. Because it's a concentration, it, like, in theory, it would set you her up. It would set up the, like, whoever you curse for another caster to cast something like Hold Person. That's the kind of one use. You could also, like, rob them of actions, I think, and give them disadvantage. Pretty good, but they're like, you might as well just Hold Person them, because you still need to land it, right? So I think very, very thematic for Minthara. I would love to have Bestow Curse, but I'm not gonna get it. Slow we will get as a separate spell. Here at level 5, conceivably you could maintain Hex, but I'm just gonna go ahead and switch it out for another spell. Which spell though? Many choices. Counter spell, I think a good choice, but not sure about counter spell, guys, to be honest. Not sure about counter spell because you only get 2 spell slots, right? You're gonna cast something at the start like Arms of Hadar, so you're only really left with 1 spell slot. You either have to keep that back pocket in the fight, but I feel like you probably burn through it, and then you have counterspell. That might be a good opportunity to use it, but you might just not have the spell slots. Arguably, you don't win initiative, an enemy casts something really powerful to open up, and you counterspell them. Could be really good, right? But 2 spell slots, I feel like it's a good one, but we'll probably get it later. Realistically, at this point, your spell DC also isn't that high, so it's hard to land things, but Hypnotic Pattern is good, but only 2 turns if you are the one opening up the fight. Slow is very good if you are the one opening up the fight, or if you're like first to act. But I feel like I haven't used Fear a lot, and Fear, to be honest, makes everyone drop their weapons and run away. So if Minthara is ever overwhelmed, she could do that. Dropping weapons is super powerful. I feel like it's very much like Minthara. Like, you know, she just gives you that one look with like Devil's Sight now, or like maybe scream, shout something out, and she's generally like, she looks menacing. So I'm gonna go with Fear as our replace spell from Hex. You know, Hex is nice because again with Hex and at level 4 we're gonna maintain our concentration on Hex like indefinitely, pretty much, or I mean almost. But the thing is, if we maintain concentration on Hex, then what do we do with our other? We can't use our other spells, and our spells are now getting so powerful that even though Hex still adds good damage, it's just not as potent, and it kind of blocks you from all these other spells. So you would have to like use Fear first, make use of it, and then put Hex. And but by then, everyone's dropped their weapons and run. Krusk has already probably killed everybody. So I kind of feel Hex kind of falls off here. Once you get these like Arms of Hadar and stuff, like, you know, you might as well just Arms of Hadar, just hit them. You know, like Krusk will single out target. If you wanted to play a type of warlock, or if this is your primary melee, you might actually want to maintain Hex and make him like single out one target and just hit them with, you know, 2 attacks, 2 hexes. You know, excellent. But not Minthara. I think we're gonna switch this out at this point. Level 6, 51 HP. Entropic Ward is a reaction you can impose disadvantage on an attack roll against you. If the attack misses, you gain advantage on your next attack roll against your attacker for 1 turn. I think it's excellent. Again, shows her as that sort of dexterous, nimble fighter that like they're like ducking and weaving, getting, you know, kind of ducking out at the last moment. You know, dexterous type fighter. you know, and then kind of, you know, swerving and like getting up the upper hand on the enemy. So I think fits Minthara perfectly from that perspective, thematically. Gameplay wise, we're not gonna have like, we're gonna have some armor, right? We get like 12 from her armor. We're gonna get +4 from gloves of dexterity. So she will have 16 base, you could say, right? Then there is like, you can get 1 or 2 more points from, you know, rings and this, and we'll discuss items in a second. Let me just check, how long is this video? Jeez, it's already an hour and 20 minutes. Well, sorry guys, it's probably gonna be like a 2-hour deep dive. But in Tropic Ward though, sorry, coming back to like, we're not gonna have too much AC, and so people will miss us quite a bit, but they will also hit us. And when they hit us, it's nice to have this. Hopefully she won't be like in the thick of melee, but there's probably like 1 or 2, hopefully, people attacking her. It'll be nice to use this as a reaction, you know, and get the upper hand on them and then hit them with advantage. Especially with 16 charisma advantage, you know, it won't hurt for her to like be able to hit at least once with an advantage. So, great class feature for those who are not so armored that everyone like misses them all the time. Now, spells. Another level 3 available. Man, I'm kind of leaning towards slow. Vampiric Touch doesn't really heal you for all that much. It's not really great damage, so I would not do that. Slow is a good one if you land it on 6 people. Slow is good. Although we already have fear. Maybe I get counterspell, because by now, like, you also have to balance with warlock spells that require concentration and don't. Because right now we have fear and Arms of Hadar to concentrate on as like our big ones, and hold person, right? And so at this point I would pick counterspell, so we have it in our back pocket. The reality is, you know, what's going to happen is either we start a fight and we're not first in initiative, and then we cast a big spell, we counterspell it, right? And, you know, we still start the fight even though we didn't win initiative, although Cross will always win initiative, to be honest. So, yeah. So, but, you know, that's a possibility. Because Minthara is most likely to, like, skip maybe the most high initiative and be, like, you know, in the upper quartile, so towards the start of the combat, but she's unlikely to be the number 1. So counterspell could be useful there. Slow is very, very good, but the thing is, we're going to be concentrating on something like Arms of Hadar, or to like do some that initial damage, slow people down, all of that. So yeah. Don't know. Like I'm torn between counterspell and slow. Because slow is great. Like, we will always be outnumbered. We're only 2 characters, right? Kraska and Minthara. So if Minthara could slow people, like that, you know, and she will maintain that concentration 10 turns. That's it. She then fight. She can cast that mirror image on herself. She can do like all sorts of things. And slow, by the way, guys, just for those you don't know, it decreases their AC by 2. But Kraska doesn't really need AC decrease. He hits like a truck and he's super precise. He always gets advantage. So we don't necessarily need AC reduced. Dexterity saves are reduced by 2, but we're not really doing anything with their dexterity saving throws. They only can take action or bonus action and lose extra attack. To be honest, I might go slow. Like, counter spelling is good, but also very Minthara-like, you know, utter like 1 word and counterspell. But I feel like on the Warlock, it's just very often we'll find ourselves without spell slots. Simple as that. And I feel like taking away, you know, extra attack from 6 people is, I mean, if you land it, but she will have high DC, you know, it's pretty strong. I don't know, you guys let me know. But I would say we save this one for a little bit later, where, like, if we really have nothing to get, we can get it. Is there anything we could switch out? I mean, Dissonant Whispers, arguably we could, but again, but we need spells that don't require concentration in case we do want to like double down on something, right? All of these require concentration. Counter spell would be a good addition because right now we have Arms of Hadar to concentrate on. We got Fear. We have Slow. The Fear is a good one because it's like a short concentration. You blast it, they all drop their weapons, run, but Krusk finishes those who are not running, you know, and then they're all weaponless, and you know, in 2 turns you stop the concentration regardless, like, because it's only lasts 2 turns. I'm not so like these counter spell is good against like, you know, control spells on the enemy side, but the reality is, you know, we're gonna get proficiencies. I think Drow get Fey Ancestry. I don't think they can be put to sleep either. But yeah, we'll win initiative most of the time, so we don't like. I think we'll just kill the spellcasters, you know, as our first order of business. And even if you do counterspell, you only counterspell once with Minthara. I mean, maximum 2 times. But then the enemy will just cast that spell 3rd time because most spellcasters, you know, they probably have more spell slots. So I feel like it's a bit of a waste. Like, it's not a waste. It's a great spell, but it's very hard to make use of. So let's go with slow. You guys let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We can always, I guess, respec a little bit because, you know, we're going straight into level 7 Warlock. I've never really played him all the way to level 7. And so, yeah, we could get things wrong. Now, level 4 spells immediately here. I mean, Dominate Beast, great. Dimension Door, great. Blight, great. Banishment, not so sure, but, I mean, it's gotta be Ever's Black Tentacles. Like, you saw what we did with Findon and Linus with this one. Insane. Like, you can get one for long rest from an amulet, but Minthara will be wearing something else. But having this, like, yeah, on speed dial, so to speak, incredible. Just absolutely incredible. With her Eldritch Blast, I mean, this is like a game changer. This literally, she could solo massive fights with this. Krusk will be able to fire, well, shoot with his bow. She will have 2 crossbows. Yeah, we'll talk about items in a bit. But yeah, this is like an incredible strength save, slows people down or stops them, does damage. It's just, it's too good. You throw them back with, I mean, this is game changer spell. Game changer. Eldritch Invocations here. We do get Dreadful Word for Confusion. Excuse me, I'll get some water. She's been talking for so long. So we get all of these things. I already talked about them. Some of them are still viable to get, some are not so much. You know, like if you were getting, I mean, if you're getting like Fiendish Vigor, you should have gotten that really early. I mean, getting it now, yeah, get it now definitely is not worth it. But I am leading towards Book of Ancient Secrets. You can inscribe magic rituals in your Book of Shadows, right? Now, Dreadful Word would be nice, but Confusion is just basically another type of fear and whatnot. Confuse a group of enemies, causing them to attack at random. On the run, enemies they just skip turns. It's kind of like, we already have slow. You gotta kind of... At first, I was picking like all of these spells, but the reality, I think you just gotta like pick a few control spells you like and just stick with them. You know, and I feel like slow plus fear is already like good enough. Plus Hadar, they're all like slightly different. Confusion is obviously slightly different too, but like, okay, like either it's that or that. I feel like fear fits Minthara better and it's just more powerful. Confusion is great though as well, very much viable. Sculptor of Flesh, polymorph a target. A polymorph, I think it's what is it? A wisdom? It's actually a wisdom, yeah. Confusion is also wisdom actually. Yeah, I thought one of them might be charisma, but no. So yeah, could do. Maya the Mind is like nice to get slow. You know, we could then get slow and counter spell. So, you know, nice, but you might as well just get. You don't need that many choices. Instead, I would go with Book of the Ancients. Reason being is Silence. It's another concentration spell. Again, I think it's like our version of counter spell. You know, we put this on a mage and we tie him down together with Krusk, stop him from moving, and that's it. There is no spells at all. And so, you know, this is like a sort of like an alternative to counter spell, I feel, except we have to land it first. We could always open up with combat with that. Although, I mean, arguably it will be Krusk opening up with taking out the mage, most likely. But could put silence down. Ray of Sickness. I mean, I hate the fact that, you know, originally I read somewhere that these are castable for free. So yeah, so we can cast each one, guys, once per day without expending a spell slot, right? They don't expend any spell slots when cast, only once per long rest. But originally I read that if you wanted to, you could upcast things like Chromatic Orb to your Warlock spell slot, but then you use a Warlock spell slot. I don't think that's actually the way it's implemented in BG3. It would have been incredible if it was. I think it would have been really smart if it was. Because then you could do 2 Chromatic Orbs with your spell slots, and they are both upcastable, right? And you do like massive damage. So if you can spot an enemy who's vulnerable to like Thunder, then this is a good thing to have in your back pocket, right? And you would just throw. But even without being upcastable, given they're free, gives you like, again, with Chromatic Orb especially, gives you an elemental damage of any type plus the surface. So you can trigger that. If you see an enemy, but it's only really worth it if enemy is vulnerable to that damage type. You could just like exploit that vulnerability once. Could be really, really useful, you know. For things like Scrying Eyes you saw in the previous episode, obviously you struggle, but she would have that in your back pocket. Ray of Sickness, I'm not really sure. Like, it's a Constitution save. Yeah, you poison a target. It's not upcastable. I'm not sure we'll ever use this one, to be honest. But Silence in this is nice to have. Nice to have. Otherwise, you know, none of these are particularly... I mean, you could do one with Shadows. Yeah, they're all kind of meh. Not even meh. I'd say they're well balanced. They're not meh. They're like well balanced. There's a few choices to make. This is my preferred choice, personally. And yeah, we could even like switch out potentially like this and Whispers or something for some other level 4. Dominate Beasts, pretty good. But we need to get our Charisma up first. But like Dimension Door is good. But again, you need to kind of... Once you have this, you need to always make sure you keep one spell slot in your back pocket. Light, we might get that. But yeah, for now, I think we're okay with just one level 4 spell. That's it, guys. Seriously, finally. Finally. That is the Minthara in terms of character and abilities. Right, that took us a while. Now, I think I've mentioned everything. Let's just go ahead and find her packed weapon before I forget, and we get into, you know, some Drider combat or something like that. So this one we can send to Krusk. Now, what's good about her? So this, first of all, gives us Pommel Strike. That's already synergizes with her control spells, so excellent. Her mobility is okay. Well, actually, so we need to take off these medium armor shoes that she has, which are pretty good shoes for a caster. But unfortunately, we can't wear them. But she does lack a little bit of mobility, but, you know, Rush Attack kind of gives her that mobility, you know, and sets targets off balance, helps her to hit, because her charisma is 16, but even at, well, 20, you know, she never really gets, like, natural advantage like Krusk, so, you know, it will help. And, like, setting off balance is not bad. Like, reposition yourself. You can get out if you're swarmed, right, without triggering attacks of opportunity. So great ability on the longsword, better than like a great sword. There's also finesse. It fits her thematically. It's a drow, Elistray, or like elf weapon. So all really, really good. Faller Aluva Melody Shriek. Right, all enemies within 6 meters range have a 1d4 penalty to Charisma, Wisdom, Intelligence saving throws. With their affected creatures receive an extra 1-4 thunder damage. Again, excellent. You shriek with Falar Avluva, you then land your hold persons easier, right? So imagine that. So pommel, or actually, I think you could pommel. No, wait. Yeah, you could pommel because pommel gives you disadvantage. Yeah, disadvantage. You could shriek. I think I haven't actually tested this, but you could shriek for a 1d4 penalty. Krusk could hit him with Bane for a 1d4 penalty, right? And if we gain Arcane Acuity, we get up DC, and that's it. It's all over. We can like hold person. We can hold person 3 targets already, and it will only increase. Insane. We hold person 3 targets. Krusk crits of them automatically. The DC is so high that the enemies can't get out of it, and Minthara's concentration is so high that she will never drop it. All right, that is the play. I hope you guys are like seeing the synergies. Let me know if I'm got anything wrong. It would be kind of funny, I think, if it is. Oh, she's got the Halcyon's Journal. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so those are our items. Now, let's just complete her with Gloves of Dexterity. Boom. Again, fit her thematically, look good on her. Everything's great. Boots, though. Hang on, sorry. So yeah, we have this. Now we could also give her this. What is that? What is that? Now, obviously, like this would look like so much better on her. But this just gives While Obscured in Shadow, the spell spells gain +1 bonus to DC. Obviously in Darkness she would get that. But this thing gives you +1 bonus to spell save DC flat and gives you +1 to initiative. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to do that instead. She can keep this in the back pocket. What else? For now we could give her the Guidance Amulet because she'll be with us. But we're gonna change her amulet for sure. Boots. I actually think she should be the one getting the Nightwalkers because they look cooler on her, fit her as a drow. Also, you know, between Krusk, obviously both of them could benefit from a Misty Step. But I feel like Krusk doesn't really need necessarily the Misty Step. He can go invisible, he can disengage as a rogue with a bonus and run away, whereas Minthara, you know, might get swarmed and might need to reposition quickly and far and be our like backline caster melee, caster and ranged fighter. Also, her not being able to slip on grease or ice is excellent because that is another way, well, as I said, that's a way she can break her concentration, and we do not want to break her concentration because she only has 2 spell slots and she's going to be landing big things for us. She also can't be enwebbed, entangled, or ensnared. Again, fits her as like this mobile drow attacker character. Great for spellcasters, doesn't need constitution saving throws. So to be honest, I think I've convinced myself. We're also not going to pick Misty Step for her as a spell, save us a spell slot. So I think this is what she's going to go with. Yeah, very much drow, looks great. Thematically fits, mechanically fits very well. Now Krusk probably needs some shoes. Doesn't he? I think for now he can just put like heels. Where are Swarzy shoes? He put on the Swarzy shoes. I was hoping we'd get the evasive shoes. Those would be nice plus 1 AC, but I don't think we're gonna get them because we slaughtered the Grove, everyone in the Grove, so we're not gonna get Mattis, so we're not gonna get evasive shoes. Evasive shoes would have been perfect here. Now, what else? Ranged weapons. Minthara will get Fire Stoker. Fits with drow theme. She's gonna get double crossbows. I think later on we're gonna get the Helmet of Arcane Acuity and have her stand in the back, do attack, extra attack. Right? She has now +8, 18 dex +1 to attack. So she will hit. She'll get 4 Arcane Acuity every turn, right? And then cast her big spells. That is the idea. We do need to get the Never Misser for her from Royal Moonglow. Actually, I forgot that in the previous episode. Other than that, for now, I think we're going to get the Ring of Free Action as well. Not in this episode. For now, she does have the brand. So she can make use of this Thunder Wave, push people away from her and into the arms of her dart and whatnot. Sorry, this mistake. Yeah, to the extent enemies are gonna get poison, resistance to and like immunity to poison, I think Krusk could switch out to Periodic Wound Closure. Yep. So everything is great. Yeah, we're gonna get, I think, Cloak of Protection from Minthara at Last Night In. We're gonna get, I think, Amulet of the Harper to give her the shield once per long rest for that extra AC, because she will get hit with 16 AC. That's kind of low. And also we will get her, and she'll have 17 together with the Cloak. And also she will get advantage in Wisdom saving throws. So again, she shouldn't be like possessed and like health person and such. So yeah, so the rings I'm kind of not sure about. I think maybe we'll give a ring of protection and ring of free action, so she can't be paralyzed. No, but actually, sorry, we give her ring of protection and we give Krusk ring of free action, so he can't get paralyzed and such. And he now also doesn't have the shoes or restrained, right? So I think he will make full use of free action. I mean, he's kind of losing. Yeah. Maybe it's the Whispering Promise we need to lose. Yeah. The rings, I'm really kind of not sure about just yet, guys. But she'll get the cloak, she'll get the Never Misser, ring of free action, we need all of that. Otherwise, yeah. That is how it will be. I'm hoping we can keep her armor until the end of the game, to be honest. Because it's kind of thematic, it looks cool, it works really, really well on her.
There can be no respite.
And so, yeah, guys, sorry, this has kind of gone on for way longer than I thought it would. I thought it would be like 45 minutes. But I hope you see where I'm coming from. I hope you enjoyed geeking out on character creation. To be honest, well, I guess we need to tell Minthara to wait because she can't actually go back to Moonrise Towers. I can actually show you the dialogue. Let's go ahead and just explore Moonrise Towers a little bit, get the items. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do a little bit of gameplay at the very end here. Moonrise Towers. I think it will tell us that she shouldn't go there. Like in my limited test playthrough, that's kind of as far as I got. Because she's a traitor, obviously she should be in prison.
Our enemies still draw breath.
All's well that ends, but not as bad as it could have.
Approaching Moonrise without a tadpole companion is a dangerous proposition. Are you willing to risk being detected by the cult?
Prepare to push onwards to into Moonrise, whatever the risk. Caution and vigilance should allow you to explore the tower unscathed. Best to return later. Yeah, I guess this is kind of how it works. You know what? I'm a little bit surprised though.
Reporting.
Minthara does have the tadpole. And the one thing I know, it's kind of not thematic, but I was going to give her like a couple of tadpoles just to get the luck of Far Realms and Cult of the Week and call it a day. Like we wouldn't do any more because thematically I guess she doesn't really want to. But I thought we had one like in our stock.
No, never mind.
You wish to consult me?
Let's go ahead and say go to camp and wait for me there.
A mistake. I am your most valuable asset.
You are. Don't question me, return to camp.
When you realize your mistake, I will be ready to join you again.
How much farther can I
It
go?
is a mistake, Minthara, we know it, we know it. We have like 62 HP plus 10 ourselves. Yeah, so Minthara is very much a capable melee fighter and she's gonna add a lot to us. Let's go grab that Never Misser. And
Ever at your service.
raid. Yeah, I missed it yesterday. Yeah, there it is. How much is it? We're kind of 4,000, but this is a good one. Force damage 2,400. Jesus. This is entering. We do get a discount though. Right, supposedly. Yeah. Expensive. You know, for Minthara though. Right, so it's a good one. It's a good one. It'll give her magic missile as well. Like, guys, synergies are just really like coming through. 200 for this. Still for sword, I guess we could just sell already. Whenever you deal fire damage, get rid of this. Cruel Sting, a drow elf wielding this weapon deals an additional 1 poison damage. Ooh, against restrained targets. To be honest, oh no, it's a longsword. This, wow. To be honest, wow, I actually didn't realize this. I didn't realize because I sped run, as I said, just to like see Minthara a little bit. I never obviously killed the Drider. Ooh, maybe she gets the cruel sting. No, but to be honest, Drow's weapon deals an additional. It's so thematic, guys. She's a drow. It deals more damage. It does that additional 1 to 4 poison damage against restrained targets. Ooh, this is so good. Possibly in webs your target, your attack. Only once, but then yeah, she does poison damage, kind of like Krusk. Super cool, actually. Let's send this to Minthara. Ooh, never realized how cool that was. Minthara could also get the Bow of Awareness to get that bonus to initiative rolls, but I feel thematically it doesn't really fit her because she's a drow. Again, this goes to Minthara. But we could kind of sell all of this and just Baldur and
An honor, true soul.
let's go ahead and get the
Check those crates. Be nice
get the
to
ring
know
of
what we
reaction from Obladora, as well as the elixir, I guess.
Let's see what this does.
That smells interesting. Araj O'Blodra, trader in all things occult. A very great pleasure to meet you, true soul. Should you be interested, I have a particular offer I'd like to make.
Let's hear about this special offer of yours. Yeah.
Put plainly, I'd like your blood. A vial of true soul's blood, specifically. With 1 drop, I can brew a rather potent potion for you. The rest, I keep for myself.
And what exactly are you planning to do with your share?
Research, naturally. We Oblodras are simply curious by nature.
You realize why the name rings familiar. House Oblodra was purged a century ago by an alliance of rival drow houses. Among the many crimes tallied against them, their reckless experimentation with illithid breeding stock.
It's not true soul blood you want. It is illithid tainted blood.
Blessed by the absolute, but not blinded by it. Now I simply must study you. The beings you speak of have no use for gods, and yet here we stand in a church of their making. Unless they are not the makers, but simply the means, wouldn't that be a secret worth knowing? So let me adjust my offer. Your blood and your silence, in exchange for the potions I mention, and a tidy pile of gold besides.
Nice. What kind of potions can you make? Alright, let's do it. We got potions. Let's see her dialogue line. What kind of potions can you make?
No idea, but it will be unique to you. Your blood essence and the Absolute's blessing intertwined. We can learn exactly what that means together,
I really like the Oblodra's character though. Alright, let's do it.
Just a little prick and it's all over. Close your eyes. A little pain for a lot of gold. And there we are. All of your very best traits in a bottle. Use it well.
Okay. How much gold do we get? We have 1400, that's a 300 gold. What is the orcish thing? Where is it? Half orc, half fury. When you're down before your next long rest, you set over 1 hit points and thanks for relentless will joining. Okay, Minthara could get that. So send that to Minthara. We obviously have that already.
Welcome back, true soul. You've come in the spirit of trade, I hope.
Normally a stock. Now yeah, let's not kind of delay here too much, but we do. She does have like a few nice items. Exquisite robe, something for Aphelios. Thunderskin Cloak. When a creature is creature with a reverberation deals damage to the wearer, the creature needs to make a constitution save throw to become dazed. No, some potential reverberation. The remaining turn, reverberation. Yeah, maybe not for us. But yeah, ring of free action, 400 gold only. Okay. Gain advantage on attack rolls and receive disadvantage on saving throws. Now I don't like that, although there's a way to make it work. Arcane bolstering each time you dash, the wearer gains arcane energy. Yeah, arcane energy rather. Pink and leaf, lavender, bloody plum, black and summer green, white and scarlet dye. Okay, I'm gonna have a look in between episodes, guys, trying to find a cool dye for like Minthara to dye all of her armor. But for now, let's definitely get this. And to be honest,
Come back anytime.
let's just kind of end this episode, guys, because it's become like a 2-hour monster. Let's make sure we don't jump. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to jump to Moonrise Towers. Because I'll forget in between episodes. And I will jump here and go to camp from here. Because I will click go back, you know, from camp and I'll end up in Moonrise Towers. And we're going to be in trouble. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed and appreciated this me geeking out over the... Where did I lose 3? Oh, 3 HP should put me. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was pressing tab.
You wish to consult me?
You remember that all you an absolute's name? Scattered through the vulnerable, your paladin. It's the nature of your oath. I'd like you to join me.
Good. I do not like to stand idle.
Yep. Let's get her. I got 3,000 she's got. That's just us. Level 7. She'll really come online at level 8, Minthara, though. Once she gets that charisma up to 18. But yeah, so she does have the Never Misser. I'm gonna put that into her main hand. Put this into her offhand. And yes, she does less damage, but that's not the point. The point is that she's... it's thematic for a drow, and she's gonna stack Arcane Acuity, I'm hoping. Like nobody's business. Now, Ring of Free Action. Let's just make this final decision, guys. Bow of the Banshee. I'd love this guy to get Bow of the Banshee. To be honest, what is this? You ignore effects of difficult terrain, you cannot be paralyzed or restrained. Maybe this is the way. Krusk is our frontliner, and he has 1 AC. When you heal a creature, it gains 1 die fall to attack rolls and saving throws. I mean, this synergizes really well with Broodmother's Revenge. But no. And this, he does have -1. Ignore the effects of difficult terrain, which is nice because he is mobile. He needs to be able to run away. He has dash, he has movement, he has everything except difficult terrain can smack him, and can't be paralyzed or restrained. That's also nice. Restrained he won't be because he's got dexterity, like saving throws. He's got massive dexterity, but paralyzed is very bad. So we don't want to be paralyzed. Minthara will hopefully be like too far away to be paralyzed. Minthara is gonna get the cloak of protection. Maybe he's the one who should get the cloak of protection later. 17 is low. Like I'd like this to be 20. He will get medium armor master. That will bring us up to 18. Yeah. Anyway, I'll think about this and we'll recap in the start of the next episode, guys. But let's go ahead and end this monster character building episode. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments any of your thoughts on what I did, what I didn't do, on paladins, any other classes. How else do you guys see Minthara? What do you see her as? Did you like this theme? I'm really looking forward to it. We're gonna have to start. Like, I haven't actually played it, so I'm not sure if it will work exactly the way I think. But I've been sort of agonizing over this for like 2 months, so I think it will work the way I intended to, which would be really cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and test that in the next episode. For now, though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.